The Pittsburgh Steelers are atop the AFC North, and man, does it feel good. Steelers victorious today, 13-6 winners against the Denver Broncos. Let's pay some bills here on the live post-game reaction of the Bleav in Steelers show. Today's episode brought to you by BetOnline.ag. They'll take care of all of your gambling needs this NFL season. Head over to BetOnline.ag today. Player props, over-unders, player spreads. BetOnline.ag. Use our promo code Bleav. You can see that on your screen right now to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. Steelers winners against the Broncos 13-6. And I got a lot of thoughts about Justin Fields, about Russell Wilson, Broderick Jones getting benched, but we're going to start today's show with this. You have an absolutely legit defense in Pittsburgh. You have what could be the NFL's best defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you have to take advantage of that because they absolutely shut Bo Nix down today. And I know that Kirk Cousins is a statue. I know that Bo Nix is a rookie, but this is a special defense. And I thought you saw glimpses with the offense, but overall, I thought a lot of the things what Justin Fields, Arthur Smith and company did offensively was negated by penalties today, and we'll get into that. But in the first half, the Steelers allowed 62 yards of total offense, had a 10-0 lead at halftime. 62 yards of offense. And if you go back and watch a replay of that game at Mile High, they showed a lot of the crowd shots of fans just looking absolutely miserable. And that lets me know that you have a really legitimate defense, a shutdown defense. And I thought they got it done yet again today. And I'm going to say this too. And again, I know who you've played at the quarterback position. You're going to have better opponents later on in the year. This is the best Steelers defense I've seen since I've hosted the show at the start of the 2019 season. So this is my 6th year hosting Bleav in Steelers. This is the best defense, the best Steelers defense I've seen in my time hosting the show. I think that highly of it. Justin Fields, I think, has played like quarterback one. And Justin Fields helps guide the Steelers to a win against the Broncos today. And I thought he did some really good things on a lot of things that, again, were offset by penalties. Give me just a second here. I'm going to talk about Justin Fields here. Pulling up the box score as well for people just tuning in here to Bleav in Steelers. 17-23, 156 yards through the air. And it's like, well, is it that impressive? 14 carries for Fields, again, 57 yards as well. So you have to count for his legs as well. I thought the Steelers got a little conservative in the second half. And the biggest difference in the first half and the second half to me was in the first half, the Steelers seemed to be third and short scenarios. There were too many third and longs in the second half. And again, I'll talk here about the penalties in just a second. But in the first half, few sequences I wrote down. And before I get to those sequences, gelling with George Pickens, I think that's starting to become evident with Fields as well. Starting to get a rapport. 6 receptions, 85 yards on 7 targets. It would have been more than that if not for holding penalties today. So I like the connection, and George Pickens compared to Patrick Surtain II, who's one of the best corners in the league. I thought Pickens won that matchup battle. George Pickens is a really special player, and having that rapport with Fields is going to be huge this season. But let's get to the sequence here. So the second drive of the game, throwing into the blitz, finding Pickens on a slant pattern to pick up a first down. And on the very next play, it looks like Fields is going to get sacked, and Fields outruns Jonathan Cooper off the edge for the Broncos, a player we told you to look out for going into this game. And it's a play that other quarterbacks in this league, maybe other than Lamar Jackson, maybe other than Jaden Daniels, just can't make. Being able to run away from edge defenders, I'm not going to say with ease, but it was like, get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball, and he just runs away. I thought the roll to the left to hit Freiermuth, getting a first down, and then that sets up the touchdown pass to Darnell Washington. Darnell Washington is huge. The Steelers need to utilize him as a red zone target. Moving forward, let's just make this part of the offense moving forward. If we've had problems scoring in the red zone, Darnell Washington is a massive man. Let's throw him the football. Just an idea. Just an idea. I thought that the offensive pass interference against Van Jefferson, initially, I did think it was a good call by the referees on the pick play on what would have been a George Pickens touchdown. But Gene Steratore on the broadcast brought up a good point. It looked like the Broncos defensive backs grabbed Jefferson and almost like they were trying to provoke the offensive pass interference play. It's a pick play. Opens up Pickens. Pickens tiptoes the sidelines and did score, but they said it was an offensive pass interference on Jefferson. I don't know. Sometimes you get away with that. Sometimes you don't in the NFL. And that was one where you didn't get it. But initially I thought it was, but then on replay saying that, hey, if the defenders are the one grabbing the receiver has to be the one that prompts that on the pick play to warrant a penalty. So I thought that was pretty good analysis when they brought in Gene Steratore for that. I mean, in the first half, this defense, going back to that really quickly here, punt, turnover on downs. Those were the Broncos' 4 drives. And they only allow 6 points in the second half. I'd like to see more than 13 points for the Steelers. I was very confused by some of the decision-making of Sean Payton in this game. 10:42 left. He decides to go for a field goal to cut it to 13-3. And you knew at that point the Broncos had 2, maybe 3 possessions left. It's still a 2-score game with the 10-point lead. And on that same drive, the Broncos went for it on 4th and 6, converted. And then when faced with another 4th and 6, they decided to go for it again. I was very confused by that. I was also confused by Payton kicking the field goal at the end and then trying to go for the onside kick. And then by the time they get the ball back with like 8 seconds left and no timeouts, that didn't work. And I was just really confused, or not even the onside kick. Excuse me, I misspoke there. Payton not going for the onside kick just confused me, given the fact that they didn't have enough timeouts to really give Bo Nix and the offense a legitimate shot. I mean, I didn't expect anything at the end there, but I just thought that Sean Payton kind of mismanaged the clock. And this is something that I saw on Twitter during the game. Friend of the program, Dave Damashek, brought this up. Sean Payton and the Broncos preferred this, what you saw today with the rookie quarterback going up against a stud defense and 6 total points with the rookie and Bo Nix, who could go on to have a fine career. We'll see. He preferred this, what you saw on the field today, to bringing Russell Wilson back. To where, hey, we want to eat, what was it, $85 million, whatever that cap figure was, to say we don't want Russell Wilson to play quarterback for us. Very surprising to me. Very, very surprising to me. Sean Payton preferred this. What you saw today, 6 total points. You're off to an 0-2 start with the rookie quarterback, and it's not going to get any easier for Denver. He preferred this compared to Russell Wilson. Very telling. Very telling. I will say this on Bo Nix's behalf. I think he has mobility that I would use. Know how to get down and slide. He had a lot of drops today by his receivers. A lot of drops by the Broncos receivers today. So that's not all on Bo Nix. The defensive pass interference penalty against Calvin Austin III at the end of the game, I mean, that's classic targeting. There's the reason why that's the letter of the law. Again, the intent we can debate about, but helmet to helmet, that's why that rule's in place. And it's good that Calvin Austin III didn't appear to be injured at all. So that's huge. And then another thing with the Broncos, too, they didn't target Courtland Sutton, who's their best offensive player, until the second half. Like, I don't know if Pittsburgh's defense saying, hey, we're taking that away. Why the heck wouldn't you target your best skill position player? Just a very confusing game plan from Denver, and the Steelers take advantage. Very confusing, like things that didn't make much sense to me. Now, let's talk about Broderick Jones getting benched. 3 holding penalties on the same drive with Broderick Jones. Troy Fautanu, First round rookie out of Washington comes in to replace him at the right tackle position. I don't know if I've ever seen an offensive lineman get benched mid-drive. The Steelers did it today. And let's look back on what penalties he raced today. The 51-yard completion from Fields to Pickens on a play where it's like when you bring Justin Fields in to the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, that is the type of play in his playmaking ability of what can make him special as a quarterback. That's the type of play other quarterbacks can't make. And he has that ability and that talent to be able to do that. That play is negated by penalties. A 2nd and 1 conversion by Najee Harris. A touchdown by George Pickens on the offensive pass interference penalty. A 3rd down conversion by Calvin Austin III. Too many penalties today for the Steelers. I'm just going to say it. I thought it negated some big-time plays from Fields in this offense. And against better teams, it's going to cost you. You cannot have that. You cannot have that from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And let me make sure I get my stats right with Fields. Apologies here. I will clean this up. 13 of 20, 117 yards and a touchdown pass today. Apologize. I had the wrong box score. And then Fields 8 carries for 27 yards on the ground. So on paper, it wasn't great, but in the second half, I think you get conservative. You get a little bit tight. And let me go to those penalties as well. You had 10 penalties, 78 yards. Too many. 124 for the Broncos today. The Broncos did not play a good game today. If you're a Broncos fan, you might have a long season ahead. A long season. But what I want to know, too, is if you're watching here in the chat, do you want Broderick to get back into the starting lineup on the left side? I thought Dan Moore Jr. was fine today. Troy Fautanu, when he came in, like no news is good news in terms of like giving up sacks and whatnot. How do you want to see the Steelers play that out? Because here's what I would do. I'd continue to start Dan Moore Jr. I think Fautanu gets the start and say, hey, Broderick, I don't know if it's a performance thing. I don't know if it's an injury thing. If I'm the Steelers, I'm saying we're going to bench him, get him mentally right, get him physically right, because he's still wearing that arm brace. I don't know how much of this is injury related when it comes to Broderick Jones, because I thought he was very good last year as a rookie. I thought he was among the Steelers' best offensive linemen last year as a rookie. Eventually, I think you need to move him to the left side and keep him there and stop with this flip-flopping, because it screws up your muscle memory. And fans don't want to hear this. But when you're accustomed to doing things with your feet and your upper body and positioning and learning that and developing confidence, and I say muscle memory, it's the reps. They're still young players. Broderick Jones in his 2nd year. He's a 2nd-year player, still a very young player. So to develop that continuity, that muscle memory, get him right. And then when he's ready to go, if he's your better option, start him over Dan Moore, because Dan Moore's in the final year of his contract. I can't imagine the Steelers will bring him back beyond the 2024 season. I'm talking there. But let me know what you want to see with that, with the offensive line. But benching a lineman mid-drive, I don't know if I've ever seen that in the NFL. But I'm 31 years old, so that was surprising to me. But Broderick Jones gets benched today. Those are a lot of my observations. Freiermuth, 4 catches for 39 yards. Pickens as well, 2 catches for 29 yards on 4 targets. I want the passing game to get better, but you just needed to bleed clock. And again, penalties really cost you. I think the Steelers had like 3, maybe 4 first downs in the second half. That's not good enough. So I liked what I saw in the first half. In the second half, yeah, kind of yikes, but you hang on because you have stud defense and you didn't need your offense to do too much today. Let's get to what Yinz thinks, where we get to the comment section. If you want to support this show here on the Bleav in Steelers show, you can also leave a comment in the super chat, financially support Bleav in Steelers. Let's start with Casual Friday. What the heck was up with number 77 not playing like a first rounder? I noticed the arm brace. And I don't think he had the arm brace a year ago. Is it an upper body injury? Is there something else we don't know about? If it's not injury related and it's performance related, then what is prompting that? Because Broderick Jones played on the right side a season ago. But the thing that you notice is the arm brace. Not sure if he's healthy, but 3 holding penalties on 1 drive. I'd expect a player to get benched even at, say, a high school level if that happens. Casual Friday, thank you for the comment. Chatty saying the rock fight. Yeah. Field goal fest, And Chris Boswell, again, 53 yards out, just drills it. The most accurate kicker in league history from 50 plus. And with the way Justin Tucker's kicking so far this season, I think he's got 2 misses. Right now, I think Chris Boswell would be your Pro Bowl selection, your All-Pro selection at the kicker position. Field goal fest today. Yancey saying everyone came today to play today except Broderick. Yeah, and you got to get Broderick Jones right. This is problems we saw dating back to the preseason, and it was like, we didn't see this a year ago with him. And I'm curious as to what the Steelers offense does. I think that it would be Dan Moore Jr. at the starting position with Troy Fautanu, and then I don't know if Broderick Jones can be your swing tackle, because if he's capable of playing, certainly he should. But 3 penalties on 1 drive, it's just, you're not giving your coaches any choice. I don't blame Mike Tomlin at all for that decision today. That messed up his mentality, taking him out. This is what Dadon says. Dadon is a pro athlete. 3 penalties on 1 drive. I would tell you this, having played football growing up. 3 penalties on 1 drive. Your coaches, you're going to get benched. Period. And that's lack of discipline. I understand you want to keep Justin Fields upright, healthy, clean. I understand all of that. 3 on 1 drive. No. Let's see here. Going through some comments. Casual Friday, another good comment here. Shout out Corey Trice. That pick was clutch, game ball worthy. I don't know about game ball worthy, but his first interception shut down a Broncos scoring drive, turning the ball over. You win the turnover battle a lot in the NFL, and you're going to win the game. And Corey Trice Jr. getting his first interception, that's got to feel good. He missed all of last season with the injury. So getting back on in the field today, I thought he played well. It was a huge play in the game. Deshaun Elliott, 9 tackles today, had a TFL, laying the boom on 1. And I think the Steelers finally found a safety who can help complement Micah Fitzpatrick's skill set of playing ball hawk center field. Deshaun Elliott coming up and laying the absolute wood on opposing offensive players. The last 2 weeks, he had an interception last week. I think he's played outstanding football through 2 weeks of the season. 9 tackles today for him. I mean, I could talk about the pass rushers again. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith off the edge, Nick Herbig causing a holding penalty. The Steelers can get home with 4 with this defense. They don't have to blitz. And I didn't think Bo Nix stood a chance today. The defense I thought was outstanding. I think it's the best defensive unit in the NFL through 2 weeks of the season. Again, I know you're going to face better quarterback talent, better offensive talent, but there was no point in this game where I was nervous. Yeah, it was, and another guy too, Zach Frazier up front. I mean, like, for me, I have to kind of rub my eyes because it's like the last few years we've had Kendrick Green, Mason Cole. His last year at the Steelers wasn't cut it to where they weren't getting a push up front. And Zach Frazier is just mauling dudes at the line of scrimmage. That's been fun to watch. Just the physicality up front with the young players up front's been fun. 141 rushing yards for the Steelers. And you say, well, 3.9 yards per carry, Mark, is that great? Najee, 17 carries, 69 yards, 4.1 yards a carry. Denver as a team had 64 yards total rushing. They had 64 yards total rushing. And this is something I talked about pregame today. You can criticize Bo Nix. He was 20 of 35, 246 yards, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks as well. Bo Nix was also the Broncos' leading rusher today, 4 carries for 25 yards. Javonte Williams, 11 carries, only 17 yards today for the Broncos. You talk about shutting opposing running game down. This Steelers defense today was just terrific. It's terrific. So you win time of possession again. The Steelers had the ball for 32 minutes. They win the takeaway battle, the turnover battle, 2-0. You win the game. Not really rocket science. It's not flashy. I mean, again, you want to see some more touchdowns. But that's what I saw today from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Autumn checking in. Autumn saying, penalties killed us on drives. We need to clean that up. 13 points is unacceptable. We should have scored more if the penalties didn't kill us. Yeah, spot on, Autumn. Autumn, thank you for checking in. And, Teresa saying the offense was non-existent in the second half. I agree with that. A little too conservative, I suppose, in the second half. And again, if you're just joining this, I said this off the top. I thought that there were too many third and longs for the Steelers offense in the second half compared to the first half. In the first half, I thought that they did a good job of getting into like third and manageable situations to continue to move the chains. I don't think they did that nearly enough in the second half. But I'm going to say this too. I'm going to continue to start Justin Fields. Even when Russell Wilson's back and healthy, I think they're still going to continue to blame injury here this next week against the Chargers. But if I'm Mike Tomlin and company, I point to is what has he done that would give the job back to Russ? And it's going to be an ongoing debate in Pittsburgh. The only thing I saw from Fields today that I found unacceptable was towards the end of the game, that botched snap where he wasn't expecting it. The ball snapped to him, and thankfully Jaylen Warren came up with it, and it forced the Broncos to use their second to last timeout. If you lose the ball in that scenario, up 10, can't have a mistake like that late in the game. So if there was one knock, it would be that. Yeah, I want to see more points, but Justin Fields is doing what's being asked of him. And you saw some flashes today, if not for penalties, of what he's capable of doing that other quarterbacks can't do. And that element of the offense, that dynamic playmaking ability, is something to why he was a first-round pick and why I was honestly very surprised that he couldn't find a starting job this offseason when he left the Chicago Bears. It just surprised me. And the Steelers get him for, conditional draft pick. I think Fields has done a nice job through 2 weeks. Can he get better? Absolutely, yes. But for what he's being asked to do, don't turn the ball over, move the chains, run the clock, find Pickens, get it to your playmakers. I thought he did a good job of targeting Pat Freiermuth. I thought he threw over the middle more today. I thought there was one over the middle. I think it was to Calvin Austin III that could have been intercepted. Scary play there, but it wasn't. And you have back-to-back weeks with Justin Fields with no turnovers. If you'd have told any Steelers fan at the start of the year, hey, Justin Fields is going to be the starter for the first 2 weeks and he's not going to have any turnovers, I think all of us would sign up for that. I really do. Ed checking in, talking about the refs here. Broncos held 21 times in that game. Yeah, I thought the officiating was a little what's the word I'm looking for here? I thought the officiating was a little one-sided, but I'm a law of averages guy. I think eventually that comes back in the Steelers' favor. Tony saying Calvin Austin underwhelms. I think this is why the Brendan Ayuk trade rumors were out there. I think this is why the Steelers could still trade for a receiver between now and November's deadline. You got George Pickens. Freiermuth was pretty good today, but what else do you have? And it's not a knock on Calvin Austin III or Van Jefferson, but it's just, finding a true number 2 receiver to complement Pickens, I think could help take this offense over the top. But right now you don't need anything super flashy. Now, what happens when you're the Steelers and you play better competition, you play offenses that can put up points. Can you keep up? And can Arthur Smith open up the playbook then? So how you're going to see that in the coming weeks is going to be very interesting to watch. Very, very interesting to watch. We have 53 people watching in. Thank you for tuning in to Bleav in Steelers, everybody. Pittsburgh, a 13-6 winner today against the Denver Broncos. And this coming week, we'll get you ready for week 3 against the Chargers. 1 o'clock Eastern time. It'll be the home opener at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. And I'd imagine Justin Fields is going to be the starter again for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then what they do along the offensive line in benching Broderick Jones today, that'll be something to keep an eye out for here this coming week. I don't think there were any injuries to worry about. I could be missing that. If anyone saw any injuries, they have questions about to any of the players, let me know in the chat. But you stay healthy this week too, and that's huge over the longevity of a 17-game regular season, an 18-week season. But yeah, I've liked what I've seen from Justin Fields. Again, I go back to, if you'd have told me no turnovers through 2 weeks, especially from what we saw in the preseason. I'd take that. And you want to see more points. The second half, I think, wasn't good enough, but it was good enough to win. And yeah, people asking about Dante Jackson. He was banged up a bit. Dante Jackson was in and out, and I know that's why Corey Trice was in there too. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I know he was back in there, had a big tackle late in the game. Dante Jackson. I really like how the Steelers defense is playing, just flying to the football. Said this off the top of the show. This is the best Steelers defense I've watched since I started covering the team in 2019. And I know it's 2 weeks. I know you got Kirk Cousins. I know it's Bo Nix. You'll have Justin Herbert next week, a good quarterback. So how Pittsburgh gets ready for the home opener. You're 2-0 for the first time since 2020. You're top the AFC North division. Both the Bengals and the Ravens are 0-2. And the Browns are 1-1. But to be atop of the division early on, especially, I think most people would have thought either Cincinnati or Baltimore would be, probably the favorite to win this division going into the year. You certainly take that. 2-0, great spot to be at, especially considering what's gone on at the quarterback position. I don't think anyone thought that Fields would be getting the first 2 starts of the year with Russell Wilson's ongoing calf injury. And I wish we could have seen what he could have done against his former team, but we're starting to see Justin Fields do some things with his playmaking ability, using his legs, finding players like George Pickens down the field. You saw flashes of it today. And can the flashes just become what he does consistently as a quarterback in this league? It's been the question he's had since he came into the league in Chicago. And the argument I've always made is he didn't have a ton of help in Chicago, really, other than this last year when they finally got him DJ Moore. But the Bears this year, and you'll see this on primetime tonight, are a lot different in terms of the playmakers they have on the offensive side of the ball than when Justin Fields was coming into the league. And so I would continue to start him. Steelers are 2-0 with him. And it's not so much his ability to move the ball as it is because he can run the ball. It helps keep the clock moving. And keeping that clock moving helps keep the defense, your defense, off the field. And it forces the opposing defense to play an honest 11-on-11. And that's something in year 13 with Russell Wilson coming off a calf injury. I don't know if he can do that, to move around like Fields can. That rollout play to the right that got negated by the holding penalty by Broderick Jones downfield to George Pickens. It wasn't just Steelers fans losing their minds about that. I saw a lot of national folks out there being like, wow, I don't think there are a lot of quarterbacks that can make that type of play in this league. And if you can get that consistently from Justin Fields, that's what you want to see from him as a playmaker, as a young quarterback in this league. Let's see here. Scott saying this, I think this is a good place, good perspective here, and I'll go ahead and sign off after this. The Ravens and Bengals have scored 43 and 35 points. Both sit at 0-2. I'll take 2-0. This isn't college football or fantasy football. Go Steelers. Scott, thank you for checking in. Great perspective there. And you're going to have to win different styles of football. I say this all the time on the show. What do you do against better offenses? Because for respective reasons, Kirk Cousins in the back half of his career, Bo Nix, rookie today, you're facing quarterbacks that are a little bit more limited. What does the Steelers defense do a week from now against the Chargers at home? Justin Herbert's a very good quarterback. What do you do in the coming weeks against better offensive competition? My name is Mark Bergin. This has been another edition of the Bleav in Steelers show, Bleav in Steelers postgame, following Pittsburgh's 13-6 win against the Denver Broncos. If you enjoyed this show, do me a favor on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, Apple and Spotify, 5 stars and 5 stars only for Bleav in Steelers. I want to thank BetOnline.ag, the presenting sponsor of today's show. Steelers are victorious, 2-0 atop the AFC North to start the 2024 season. We'll be back this coming week with more recaps of week 2 and to get you ready for week 3, the Steelers and the Chargers. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. Take care. So long, everybody.